Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV. It's from LATOKEN, and we host it every day, Monday to Friday. I'm myself, Sunny Mohanty, so I host it every day, Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. Singapore time. So today we have another interesting topic to discuss for 2021. It's about investments in startups from emerging markets. Excuse me, sorry, developing countries. Today we are joined here by speakers from India, Nigeria, and Russia as well to discuss the topic, the trends and the investments in emerging markets and developing countries. So, quick intro and background of our speakers, then we move into the questions and answers for the session. I'd like to start with Sean. Hi, Sean. Welcome back. Hey, how are you? How's Nigeria?
I must say, any day I wake up is a good day. Happy to be here, see all your smiling faces, and I look forward to talking about what's going on in Nigeria as an emerging market. Just to touch on myself, again, my name is Sean Burrows. I'm the co-founder of Ingressive for Good, and I'm operations for the Ingressive umbrella, which includes Ingressive Capital. They're starting a $50 million fund now to invest in early stage startups connected to traditional African business sectors. Again, happy to be here.
Great. Welcome back, Sean, and thanks for the intro. Next, I have Vandana. Hi, Vandana. Welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, hi, Sunny. Thanks for calling me back here again and again. Really happy to be here. Hi, everyone. This is Vandana from Gurgaon, India. I have 15 years of experience in investment banking, had my own family office in Singapore and Jakarta. This is my 6th year back in India. I have done some investments, then went back to advisory. In terms of geography, we are a global entity, and we do global deals from $1 million to $25 million. We are sector agnostic, and we are connected with global investors. So please do reach out to us.
Sure, Vandana, and welcome back. Next, I have Dr. Shrikant. Hi, Dr. Shrikant. Welcome back on VCTV. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you so much, Sunny. I'm Dr. Shrikant Patsarthi. I'm from India. And by the huge set of books that you see behind me, you can figure out which profession I'm in. And I'm here to talk about the emerging markets and India being an emerging market and a developing country.
Perfect. I see a big smile on Sean's face. Thank you, Dr. Shrikant, for that intro. Next, I have Harsh. Hi, Harsh. How was it? Welcome back. You were just finishing off another VCTV session with my colleague, and back here. You must love VCTV just like Gary and Vandana, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been back-to-back crazy shows. Just finished the session on SPAC. Now we are here back again. So glad to join VCTV. Glad to have you here, Sony, and to have Vandana, Shrikant, and Sean as well. We are meeting for the first time. So a brief intro about myself. My name is Harsh Shetia. I've worked in a Fortune 50 company. I worked with the Unicorn. Currently associated with our ventures as a venture partner. We are a sector agnostic network, and we invest in all sectors. We've done about 60 investments till date, and happy to look at a lot of startups, primarily at the early stage, post-seed investment, and we invest all the way up to $10 million. Anyone needs help can always reach out to me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Perfect. I think we just have today. We don't. I was expecting more speakers. Sorry about that. But anyways, we are done with the intro. So today, before I start with the questions, so today many of the emerging economies are a part of the $1 trillion club and are considered as drivers of global economic growth. The COVID-19 pandemic hit economies worldwide, emerging markets being no exception. However, a combination of weaker dollar, as we know, the US dollar, better valuations, earnings growth, and economic revival present a case to diversify across emerging markets. That is a good reason to be optimistic about the outlook for the emerging markets in 2021. Vaccine news flows is encouraging and raises confidence that by second half of 2021, these should be rolled out widely. This should allow activity to recover and support a broad economy recovery, particularly in the service sector. So talking about emerging markets over here, let's start with each country. I'm going to start with Sean with Nigeria specifically and generally Africa. So what's the landscape looking like for 2021?
For 2021, we're seeing a lot of interesting happenings. So, of course, as you said before, some of the trends that you're seeing in the more developed countries are also the same here. So you're seeing a lot of focused attention on these digital communication platforms. Even from the investor side, I've seen 3 new proposals for different ways of doing the same thing. Not necessarily the same thing, but, the digital communication part. And all these tech tools that are contributing to remote working, remote HR technologies where people are able to not only, make sure that they're actually working and doing different things, but, making sure that they're trending towards hitting company goals. So I'm seeing a lot of interesting in that space. So outside of the remote work, remote communication, the remote collaboration world, I would say, another big one, of course, no big surprise here, is actually going to be the health industry as well. So not only has Ingressive Capital recently invested in 54 Gene, which focuses on, kind of breaking down all these different things with genes and DNA to come up with all these amazing discoveries. There are a lot of other companies. There are the companies that are distributing medicine. So you have the logistics element of delivering healthcare supplies and different things like that. So those are some of the key points that are sticking out. As far as like what I would say are the high flyers. There's the staple, which is interesting right now. So one of the staples is, of course, is going to be financial technology. Those would be the top 3. So again, collaborative working together type of tools and technologies and advancements. You have your health tech, and then of course you have your fintech. Now, what's interesting enough now is with the dollar going up and going down so much, it's really forced the Central Bank of Nigeria to take some drastic moves. They're limiting how much money can go out and come in. For example, I didn't lean so much on my U.S. account. I thank God that I have it now, because you're having situations where I can't make a transaction for more than $100 from my bank here. So you're having a lot of people trying to find ways around the changing landscape in the finance world. Another thing, again, I don't want to pick on the CBN guys. If you're watching, we're friends. Love you. But another thing that you're seeing is that they're now going to war with cryptocurrency. So now they're basically cutting people off. If you are a bank or a bank account or a company that has anything to do with cryptocurrency, they're now changing laws that limit interactions that you can have. And they're really trying to push them to the side, which is interesting because Nigeria is one of the biggest cryptocurrency markets in the world based on the size and how much money that's coming in and out. So to go head to head with cryptocurrency is a very interesting move. And I must admit, I cannot see what the long-term play is there and what are all the moving parts behind that. But again, there's a lot of activity in the financial technology sector. Again, over and over and over, I'm coming and seeing more proposals, more people trying to do different ways to solve this problem. How do I send money to Ghana? How do I send money to South Africa? How do I send money to the US? All these different things for everybody problem. And now you have COVID that enters the conversation, is just changing everything. So again, very interesting times there. Another one that I've seen growing is the focus on I've already touched on logistics, but also the logistics of essential services. So there are a lot more partnerships going on where people who do have, let's say, access to a logistics company or somebody who can create an interface, they are now looking at how do they provide solutions to these grocery stores that have food just sitting on their shelves. There's a very interesting balance that comes when you talk about moving food with short shelf lives, when you have people now that cannot come to the store as they used to. So now they're trying to solve that problem again by deploying logistical solutions. So we have the motorbikes. I ran across this very interesting company that actually has physical pedal bikes. They're trying to take neighborhood by neighborhood, and they're basically bringing in just normal bikes. Let's take the whole motorized element out of this. So those are some of the key areas. I could keep going on and on and on, but I also want to make sure I don't want to take up too much time.
Great. I think good point, Sean, you mentioned. I think I read the news that Central Bank of Nigeria is planning to ban cryptocurrencies, or they have already banned cryptocurrencies. So how the Nigerian economy, as you said, the Nigerian economy are very pro crypto, because I have seen so many clients, so many founders from Nigeria who are interested to raise funds, to list their tokens, and they have fantastic ideas. But how is that going to affect your economy?
It's very interesting because again, it's hard to say because a lot of the activities that are going on cryptocurrency, of course, cannot be necessarily tracked as easily as some of the other more traditional ways of spending money. But again, I know it's stifling to the innovation. I know that there is a general frustration in the market as well because there is a disconnect between the government and the tech ecosystem here. And we've tried to create certain sandboxes and different things where we can kind of try things together and arrive at different conclusions together, which has worked well in some cases. But they took a very hard stance on cryptocurrency. And one of the major pushbacks or one of the major feels that people had is like, we had no warning. We didn't know what was going on. And then why? So again, there's still a lot more to be found. Again, when you have more authoritarian government styles, which the only reason I'm mentioning this so specifically is because when you deal with emerging markets in developing countries, you tend to come across these problems more often. Usually we would use countries like the US as an example, but the veil has been lifted there as well. But these things are quite true. So I look forward to seeing, getting more information and communicating. But as it stands now, we're all trying to figure out what in the world is happening.
Thank you so much for sharing Africa and Nigeria's view on for the economy for 2021. Next, I'd like to go with Vandana. Vandana, so what's you are seeing? What do you see, especially in terms of investments? I'm in India. I see a lot of Indian founders and entrepreneurs always contacting me to come on VCTV. I think the market is like, buzzing with startups. But I would like to hear from you what's happening with India in terms of, sort of investments.
So I think the investor has a lot of positive sentiments towards investing, whether it was during the time of COVID or now as well. We have seen a lot of investments happening in fintech, agri-tech, health tech, edu-tech. And I think it's, India is really picking up on the new trends. We see a lot of startups coming up now. If we look back a few generations down the line, people were shy to take up a startup and start their own business because typically there was a fear of failure. But now I see there are more and more risk takers and investors are heavily investing. The hot sectors are fintech, edutech, and agri-tech that I see as of now. And, though we have a lot of, Government of India has created this fund called Startup India, wherein we are supporting a lot of startups, but they also need support in terms of skills, in terms of having their licenses done on, really quickly. So there the challenges are. Typically, we need a lot of incubators set up as well over here. And here is where the challenges I feel. But other than that, we have digitally transformed. We completely digital savvy now. All the webinars are happening online. People are working from home. I have seen there's a lot of change in each and every way.
Great. Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Vandana, for those opening remarks. I would like to next go with, we have Dmitry Selduko from Russia. Hi, Dmitry. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
VCTV.
Hello, everyone.
How are you? A quick intro and background because you just joined us late.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dmitry. I'm from Russia, Moscow. I'm presenting here LT Capital and in Blockchain Capital. We are investing in classic startups from fintech and edutech, and also looking for some good projects from blockchain sphere. So glad to join this meeting today, and we'll be glad to speak about investment in startups in development countries, because I can say Russia and the CIS countries were still in good development, and we have a lot of things to do about development of many sectors and economy spheres. So what we are doing right now? We are looking for some good projects to invest into it. And as I said in previous meetings, we are able to invest from like 100,000 K up to $500,000 to promising projects. So we'll be glad to see something on this market.
Thank you. Thank you, Dimitri, and welcome back. Next, I have Dr. Shrikant. So, Dr. Shrikant, I'd like to know from you what's happening with your perspective. With your perspective, what's happening? What's happening in India in terms of investments, M&A, and IPOs? I mean, do you see a lot happening in that stage, like a growth stage, or what's happening, or much more happening in the early stages in terms of startups, and where investors actually focusing their vision for 2021? I'm going to start with you on that.
So I think we have moved. We as investors, or we as I would say deal makers, have moved away from the initial hype of solving the COVID problem that startups usually tended to follow, probably around the about 11 months before, where they were trying to solve the COVID problem, and they were trying to get their deliveries out and so on and so forth. So India kind of branched out into two different sectors, in my opinion, which was edutech as well as hyperlocal. Now we are seeing harmonization, I think sanity prevailing amongst the startups, where they are again focusing on fundamentals. And you would see a lot of this, I would say a lot of rethinking happens in the developing world much sooner than a developed world, because we tend to solve problems on a daily basis, and we're used to fighting fire and so on and so forth. So I see startups moving away from the hype, which is a good thing. And on the negative side, there are again questions on valuations and so on and so forth, which I feel are debatable topics. And that is from my part of the world.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next, I have Harsh. Your opening remarks, like, what do you see? Like, it's an open question. So, yeah.
So pretty much agree with Vandana that the focus, on edtech is there, agri-tech is there. These have been really crucial in terms of the development that is required, right? So one of my close friends is a core membership team of Ninja Card. So the kind of way that they've done to kind of make it easier from farm produce to the city level, it's really important to kind of facilitate that supply chain. However, I would like to add a few more sectors which I'm seeing a lot more development in, right? Supply chain and logistics is one of the most crucial sector which needs a lot of improvement right now. What has happened is COVID, when it originally started in the month of March and April, it really exposed a lot of gaps in how the supply chain were, how the inventory management was happening. There was a huge shortage of masks. There was a huge shortage of other healthcare equipment, agricultural equipment, right? So the crisis which has happened should definitely help us rethink how we plan our supply chain, how we plan our logistics, so that in the future, this crisis is not the this may be the first one, but this is not going to be the only one. And a couple years down the line, unfortunately, we do kind of expect such emergencies to be happening on a much more frequent basis, right? So it's extremely important for us to be prepared for it, plan for it, have contingencies for it, and ensure that the supply chain and logistics is well taken care of. At the same time, another sector which I see a lot of improvement in is the healthcare delivery systems, right? In terms of the advancements in healthcare, we already have the best medicines. We already have a lot of medical technologies which are available to us. Now, the only challenge is in terms of the delivery systems, right? How do we ensure that the people in those small towns, in tier 3, 4 towns of India or Nigeria or any other developing country, how do we provide these advanced medical services to them as well, so that when they face a medical emergency, they don't face these difficulties? So these are some of the interesting areas where we should see more startups coming in. Especially the growth in telehealth has been incredible. So
Sorry?
government telehealth,
Telehealth, okay.
telemedicine, teleconsultations, those kind of avenues. So what had happened was a lot of times the government was very stagnant on clearing these telehealth regulations. They were not approving that, right? The moment COVID hit, and within April itself, they approved it, and you just saw huge growth in telehealth platforms. So the platforms are good, but there still need to be a lot of improvement to ensure there's a lot of last mile penetration as well. So that is where I see a lot of growth happening in the coming few years.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Harsh. Talking about
Thank you.
sectors, I'm going to move next to Dimitri. So, Dimitri, you cover Russia or you cover, I mean, obviously, talking about just focusing on today's topic. So, in Russia itself, what sectors you see more money getting pumped in for 2021? More investments going to happen in Russia for this year?
Yeah, sure. So, as my colleagues said, pandemic situation in the world changed totally the market as itself, and of course, interest of investors to invest in some spheres, and the business actually also made a huge transformation. So, same situation in Russia, and the biggest pump we can see on the food supply market, because as we see, everybody started to go to work remotely, and people need to have a food supply on their places. Doesn't matter is it work or house, in-house eating. So many shops and like restaurants, we started to integrate new solutions about food supply in house and in office, for the people who started to be placed in one place and not able to like visit restaurants and cafes. This is I think the most perspective one. And second, it's small business, because right now for giants, it's for giant companies, because Russia also have a big monopolies in all spheres, banking or any like food companies, automobile, any kind. It's same situation in any country or in the world. So it's for now it's a good opportunity, because giants not easy to make some changes for new market reality, and small and middle-sized business able to join these changes and get this wave to over changes and provide quality and best service, taking new reality and new business opportunities. So from small business, it can be some service delivery. It can be domestic services, like cleaning, like online education. So these spheres was growing before. For example, we right now have some interesting companies in online education sector, because this sector grows worldwide very high, like 20% from past year, and this year I think it will be more higher. So in Russia it's same situation, and we interested like to maybe find some unicorns in this, because market is really huge. Russian speaking people in the world, it's around 500 millions. So also good quality, and it's a good market to grow in this situation and using these current opportunities.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I mean, very interesting. Food sector, services sector, education sector. I mean, good. I mean, it's more or less like similar, I think, sectors where India and Nigeria maybe. Let's move to Sean now with the same question. What sectors, Sean, do you predict, or as an investor, where you are looking to put your money in terms of startups? Sean, we can't hear you.
Aha, I muted myself again. Again, it's kind of more the same. The bell of the ball is going to be financial, the fintech space. Interestingly enough, there's all different types of again, activity around this space. If you look at what's happening in Ghana now, for example, even there's activities in financial instruments. So their treasury bills are going at 17% returns. And even if you consider the 4% inflation rate, that's still like crazy if you compare it to in America, which I don't even think they're above 1% on theirs, if I'm getting it correctly. So you're seeing all this activity, all this attention. For us, what kind of refocused attention in the fintech area was, again, our portfolio company, Paystack, being purchased for $200 million earlier this month. I mean, late last year by Stripe. And we have companies like Mono, which is looking really good right now as well, getting a lot of interesting attention. Again, so we have, for us, what I see the market taking on in the short term, or in 2021, especially again with a company like Mono, and there are several others, is that we're looking more towards having actual financial infrastructure. Again, the type of financial infrastructure that leads to companies like TurboTax and different things that are communicating with the banks, that are communicating with the governments, and that are creating that highway that allows information to go back and forth more efficiently, as opposed to where we've been relying on in the past, which is pure remittance. And that's just going to be a major focus. Again, it's a problem that everybody's dealing with every day, and it's always going to get the most attention. Well, I'll go back on this one later. I actually wanted to touch back on the cryptocurrency, but I'll circle back on that one. A lot of activity now. Again, it's not only the essential items. There are the restaurant, the food and beverage space. A lot of companies and a lot of organizations now are looking for funding, are looking for support, and they're looking at different ways of doing business in this COVID world. I'm seeing a couple of different startups that are focused on ghost kitchens, which are kitchens that may not have a front-facing restaurant, so to speak, but people are able to come in there and order online through companies like Jumia and etc. There's always going to be the need for food. People are going to have to eat. So again, people are trying to find new and interesting ways to make sure that happens. Again, that includes not only just the production side and how you're getting things in and out to produce, but it's just the logistics as well. So there was a bit of contention in Nigeria specifically last year with the Okada riders. If you guys aren't familiar with Okada riders, due to the traffic gridlock, I know over in India, I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but the traffic is just crazy. So you have bikes that are basically jetting in and out of traffic to make sure things can get there in a reasonable amount of time if you're talking about food and different things, packages and whatnot like that. So again, there was an issue where the government wanted to basically stop all of the Okada riders and re-implement a new licensing process. So again, with that being said, now with that coming in, now we're starting to see these companies come back. We've started to see mergers and different companies starting to come together and partner to be able to deliver services. So you have a company like GIG that's actually working with companies like Mall for Africa, one of those bigger companies known for moving international products, like if you want to shop on Amazon and different things like that. So you're seeing these really new spins, these really new interesting ways of trying to find ways to, again, bring products in and out, again, and just basically address the essential needs. Again, that's going to be a focus within the African continent over the 6 months as a major focus. How do we address these essential needs, these essential items, and do it efficiently? I've touched on the other one, which again, I think everybody has said this one as well, which is edutech. Again, I kind of lumped it under the whole collaborative working environment. But again, there are some schools that are starting to open back up now, but there have been schools that have been out since September or even May last year. And now they're by force having to go onto these learning platforms or find their own new ways to be able to educate people at every single level. So again, that's going to force, or what I'm seeing now is more conversations, not only with the startups and the investors, but it's the startups and the government as well, because they're trying to basically co-pilot these solutions together. And I would say those would probably be the focus areas in 2021. Again, there's going to be some offshoots, a lot of outliers, but those would be key focus areas by force. And just to touch on what we were talking about earlier. So with the cryptocurrency, the stance of the government was that they have not passed a new law. They have not changed anything. They are simply enforcing a law that has been in place since 2017. So that's the response that they gave us. So where if you're going and looking and trying to find new information, basically that's kind of where they left it. Again, I don't think they're trying to collapse the market. I think that the government in Nigeria and most developing countries is more responsive than proactive when it comes to technologies that are emerging. So when they get to a point where they're saying like, okay, this is doing things that we can't account for, this is possibly disrupting and destabilizing things, let's shut it down and figure it out. That can be very painful for startups, but that's part of doing business. The flip side of that is once they figure out things that work and you have happened to invest in one of these companies, you have plugged into a nationwide infrastructure. So again, that's what seems worth the reward can be worth the risk.
Yeah, I mean, great points, Sean. I agree. Edutech space is, basically is the sunrise sector across the world. So talking about focus areas, Dr. Shrikant, I would like to know what are the focus areas as per you? I mean, specifically, you can touch upon one sector if you wish to. Focus area for the next 6 months. And also, since you are a lawyer, I just want to know, I just read the news that the RBI is going to ban cryptocurrency in India as well. I mean, that has been in the news for a couple of years, but again, that news sort of is currently buzzing in the social media, and they also going to have their own digital currency. So if you wish, you can touch upon that as well. Over to you.
Yeah, I'll touch upon the first question in terms of the sector. If I may put my finger on, if I may put my money on a particular sector, that would be I would have said edutech and hyperlocal about even 8 months back. But I think I have to circle back and tell that I will put my money on anything that is feasible and which makes sound logic in terms of user base and so on and so forth. And you can find a lot of user bases in India because the in India and in any other developing country. And if you see, if you go back to Sean's point, in terms of Africa as a continent, we have to start looking as a continent, right? I mean, as a continent, there's a developing economy, and there's a developing nation, and there's a larger base that you can address, and so on and so forth. We have a larger pool and larger relatively market, I would say, to address. So I would actually take a very contrarian view, and I would put my money on the last time I and Sean we were laughing over this particular matter. I would put my money on gaming and naming to an extent. Naming is turning out to be I'm not trying to endorse any platform over here, but I'm a avid user of a particular meme platform, and I can see the news feed coming in from the meme platform, absolutely overlapping anything that you would find in a LinkedIn or possibly even in the Google news that you get. So I would actually put my money over there. Just for the sake of entertainment of things, right? I mean, we have been too caught up for the past 11 months just talking about solid, good stuff, and we haven't been talking about anything entertaining. Yes, more to you, Sean. So, with regard to your second question, the RBI has put a ban, and I would not be in a position to comment on it, but I think it's a ban which is okay for which is possible, and which is in all likelihood is expected from a regulator like India, where the user base is really high, and we don't have the adaptability to a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency. But that shouldn't stop you from buying cryptocurrency, because you got a ringing endorsement from I believe Tesla, if I'm not wrong. Do you need another endorsement from Reliance? I don't think that you would need that.
Right.
because you've got a ringy endorsement from Tesla as such. So there is where I rest my case.
Right. Okay. Great. Tesla. I think we've Amazon, Apple is coming up. It's all in the news. All the big institutional, all the big enterprises putting their money on Bitcoin. Good to see how India is evolving in the few coming months in terms of cryptocurrencies. I mean, this world is full of surprises, honestly. And gaming, exactly. I mean, guys, I mean, this is another area like focus area for 2021, I guess. Gaming can be education, gaming can be travel tourism. We are still in lockdown. Most of the countries, we're not traveling out. Singapore, we are not. So yeah, thank you so much, Shrikant. Next, I have Vandana. Vandana, did I ask this question to you? I just wondered.
If it's this one, I
Well,
don't think
just like to
so.
ask for you, what sectors are in focus for the next 6 months?
Oh, okay. I would focus on food tech, edutech, and fintech for the next 6 months because I feel these are the hot sectors that are coming up in India. And anybody who wants investments in these sectors, please do reach out to me. So,
Oh.
so of course, there are a lot of other sectors coming up, like you said, gaming. We are looking at gaming also, but broadly, these are the three sectors we are looking at. And in terms of, India is really emerging in these three sectors. Not only this, we have a lot of abroad investors approaching us for these kind of startups as well.
Right. Perfect. So entrepreneurs and startups, you know where Vandana is putting her money. Thank you so much. Would like to do a comparison like now. What's the investment appetite looking like into a developed economy? For instance, US, as opposed to emerging markets. So are these markets reacting differently to 2021? Are they looking forward differently, or are they looking forward in the similar directions, focuses in similar sectors, or are there any differences? I'd like to start with Harsh.
Yeah. So definitely, we've seen a huge resurgence in the angel and seed investing in India, right? What happened was for the last 2 years, the angel investing in India was kind of very restricted because a lot of the funds were deployed and they hadn't gotten an exit. So ever since they gotten an exit over the last 2 years and even in 2020, we've seen a huge resurgence in angel investment, right? And most of the investment is in terms of newer technologies. Obviously, the major sectors have already been covered by Shrikant and Vandana as well, right? Edutech is the one of the prominent ones. Gaming is there, fintech is there, health tech is there. Of course, all these sectors are there. But I would like to go take it one step further and even look at what kind of technologies are developing, right? So definitely the future of the technology where we see a lot of progress happening is definitely AI. The kind of data that we are generating, it is literally impossible, for a single individual kind of sift through all that data, right? So if you can use that data and create more recognizable patterns and kind of create more sustainable systems, it's going to be far more valuable and it will be helpful across every domain. It doesn't matter whether it's supply chain, whether it's agri-tech, it's health tech, fintech, you name it. It's going to be applicable everywhere, right? And that is where surprisingly Indian investors have really kind of opened up. Indian investors traditionally used to be very cautious of truly adopting new technology. They would like to see whether it's working or not, and they used to be very cautious compared to the developed economies like USA or UK or other countries. However, India is really looking up to these newer technologies, wants to understand a bit more in terms of how AI is functioning, how different other technologies are functioning, even AR, VR. So there were a couple of startups who had pitched to us that they were into gaming space using virtual reality to give you a live gaming experience, right? Those are the kind of startups which are doing very well. Even there were a couple of fitness startups using VR, which was actually motivating an individual using that technology to kind of exercise itself, right? During lockdowns, what happens is we end up sitting for hours together and we get no physical exercises. So that is where use of VR becomes very crucial to motivate people to start moving and get their daily dose of exercise, right? So these technologies have become very crucial, and Indian investors are definitely looking at very futuristic technologies, etc., to go one step further. Blockchain is still slightly on the lesser side. Definitely, there's a lot of interest in blockchain, but I still believe that the Indian ecosystem hasn't fully adopted the blockchain technology as of yet. But over the coming years, hopefully, we see a lot of progress in that space as well. Hopefully.
Yeah, blockchain is still new for many, how to put it, many countries, I would say, not only India. But I think India is way ahead now. That's what I see. Thank you so much, Harsh, for that. Next, I'd like to
Yes.
go to Dimitri. Question for you. So, how do you see investments in developed countries versus emerging markets? So, are there any differences or not anymore?
Yeah, I can tell you what I'm personally with my investment team. We can see difference. Of course, it's starts from the team of the projects what we are looking for, because all company starts from the people and from the core team. And I can tell you what in emerging markets. The people are not enough prepared to enter like capital attraction market and professional investments market, because what we are facing, it's a problem what people have many ideas, they even sometimes have a good plan of investment or for development of a company, but we have also weak points in management of the company or in technical development. It can be I can say it's about blockchain companies or classic companies, doesn't matter, because sometimes you are facing what it's like half prepared companies, and they have a strong weak points in technical side or in business side. So this is like cotton teams in emerging markets. It's we can see it very often if we like analyze development markets. We can see what people on these markets, because it's have a lot of competitors. It's stable and have a lot of rules and established well enough. The team and the company preparedness and team readiness to enter the market is more higher, and qualification of the people also higher. So what's we are facing about this. And I want to add one thing about blockchain regulation, as we're talking about this also, because we also touch in blockchain market here on this meeting and in our fund. And I can tell you what Russia looking for regulation straight, because I'm a member of a blockchain commission, and we actually working with Russia government about acceptance of digital currencies in Russia. And the first part of the law was already published, and it has a general questions and like general crypto terms. And in Russia, we can see like position what actually government want to regulate this sphere, and because people in the government will not really understand all of the details of this market. They want more like make this market make regulated very hard. So we want to close
Yeah, sorry.
ability
I
to
think,
what
Dimitri,
is
you're breaking up a bit. You're breaking up a bit,
oh
but it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, towards the end, I think it's okay. So talking about differences between the developed countries, I mean, Amazon warehouse, I saw a video where the robots were moving all around the warehouse in the factory. where they produce. So do we see something similar happening in India or Africa or Nigeria specifically? Sean, how different these two worlds are, and is the gap going to be closer, like lesser? Sorry, not closer, lesser in 2021, or is going to be even bigger? We on mute now. It's okay.
I would say I think it's going to trend backwards just a little bit as far as the investment. But I still think we're going to see some great activity happening. What's going on now is just it's survival of the fittest mode. So a lot of those weaker companies are kind of are just like it's going on all over the world. A lot of them are kind of crashing and collapsing. So the companies that you are seeing that are investment ready, you're seeing less of them, but you're seeing stronger companies. That's just what I've seen, more well put together companies. So with that being said, just to take it back a little bit and go to the general question we were talking about is like, what is the major differences in emerging markets versus developing countries regarding investment? One of the things that I noticed is that, like, I know that Ingressive Capital did an amazing job of getting local investors like Aluko and Oyebode, which is one of the most premier law firms in the country. The Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Fund, which again is pretty unheard of in our VC space. But what we're finding outside of those bright shining stars is that a lot of our money is coming from the U.S. and coming from the U.K. There's a lot of foreign investment that is supporting these larger ticket sales that you're seeing as far as investments going into companies and startups. So with that being said, it is different here when you're trying to convince foreign money to make investments in these local companies here. You have the same issue. Again, what I just mentioned, you come across inadequate deal flow. We have to address the risk appetite, if that makes sense. Like a lot of people are not necessarily just comfortable with investing in the Nigerian in Nigeria or the African continent. Again, if I can say one thing about Africa, there's a lot of amazing things happening here, but the continent and at large has some of the worst PR in human history. So you just don't get to hear about some of the great things happening that kind of changes your perspective. You're really only hearing about all of the corruption, all of the all of the poverty and different things. I'm sorry.
I said very rightly said.
Right. And then, yeah, so if you have, again, if you're facing inadequate deal flow, if you're facing a risk appetite that doesn't necessarily benefit the company, and then you have a lack of local startup awareness. Again, there are just certain startups that, I'm focused on the African market, but I'm sure everybody is introduced to companies or interesting new potential companies that have this great I keep using potential, but this great potential. You may hear about them, but you don't hear about those companies here, and then you don't know in the context in which they operate. So it's kind of hard to take African or Nigerian fresh innovative idea that's innovative here and make it seem that way to US investors and investors in different places. Another thing that makes it different here is that we often feel the impact of foreign market decisions. Perfect example is there's a global pandemic, right? Everyone's going to need vaccines. I'm seeing pictures on social media of people like, I got my vaccine stickered. You know where I have not seen that happen? Here. But so again, when you start looking at what is the difference in emerging versus developing countries, sometimes it's an advantage because like now we know that the vaccines are going to eventually get here. So now what I'm seeing is that in America, they realize they really don't have a way to track these vaccines. They don't know who's taking a vaccine and who's not taking a vaccine. There are people getting poked double, triple, quadruple times, and they don't know what impact that's going to have. But I see people over here, okay, how do we track vaccines when they actually do get here? So when these things do come, you'll actually have existing companies that may say, hey, we have a possible solution. That would be a very promising company. So you have those type of examples. And again, just to give another example, if you guys remember, I guess the housing bubble, I can't remember what the bubble was, but 2008, 2009, America went down and they took everybody with them. We all felt the risk, right? So again, we catch the ripples. When these things kind of happen, it impacts us in different ways. So when you're investing in emerging markets, if you, especially again, if you're a foreign person, if you're a U.S. investor, you kind of get a sneak peek at what could potentially happen if you're using historical data on these impacts. Now, again, a major problem. The continent doesn't have a lot of big data. But again, you have different companies that are working on that as well. And then the last thing that I want to mention is that the major difference in investing is just how the companies are structured in the context in which you see the companies. I've touched on this already. That is not always understood. And you touched on it before. If you look at what's going on with Amazon and all these other different companies, you're seeing robots and different things taking on different jobs and tasks. Africa is a people-based economy, and you will encounter some interesting pushback and interesting ways if you try to do things that take jobs away from people, or if you try to do certain types of innovation that disrupt huge swaths of the informal economies. So again, I think when you're investing in the African continent or in any developing economy, you have to take note of the informal economy and what impact it will have on the companies that you're investing in.
Very, very good points, Sean. To be honest, I gathered a lot of insights from you. Like, again, as an investor, foreign investor, when you are investing into an emerging country, be it Africa, a continent, or a country, or India, or Latin America, anywhere in the, so you have to understand the market before that, so hyper personalization, I guess that's Gary's word. He's not here. Thank you so much, Sean. And the vaccine example was great example, I would say. Thank you so much. Vandana, over to you, because I know you are wearing two hats right now, if I can say that safely. You are part of you are somewhat working with GST Ventures as well, and you also sit out of India. So what differences do you see when it comes to investments and startups in the two different worlds, like in the Silicon Valley or the US as a entire continent, and India as a country, or Asia?
There is a lot of difference. If you look at Indonesia and India, many holding companies are created in Singapore. Have you ever thought why is that so? It is because, in Indonesia, there is a lot of bureaucracy. Not only that, startups only have operation rights, they don't have other rights. When in India, people want to save taxes. So the laws don't favor companies over here as much as they do in abroad. Yes, I have partnered with GST because they are giving a very nice incubation platform wherein startups from India can reach the Silicon Valley as well. So, of course, there's a lot of different, also in terms of business inclusion. We in India, we need to include a lot more women in the finance industry, and in developing countries, that's a typical challenge, even in Indonesia. But if you see in abroad, there's a lot of business inclusion. Look at what W Hub is doing, for instance. So I feel there's a lot of change to be needed in terms of mindset, in terms of educating, in terms of technology, in terms of digital transformation, and also in terms of the laws and regulations which are in favor of everybody.
Yeah, great insights, Vandana. Now you have like the West and the East. Great combination. Thank you so much for that, sharing those details. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Shrikant, because obviously you cover India, Singapore, and UK. So probably you can share your experiences in terms of investments and appetite in these countries.
So one must understand very clearly when it comes to developing countries that you have a lot of ground to play. And I move away 2 miles or probably 20 miles, and I see a different set of possibly a different set of people and different set of economy as such. For example, I'm in Bangalore right now, and you move away 40 kilometers, and I touch Tamil Nadu, which is another state, and which kind of hits a different kind of mode when it comes to startups. And I head south and I go to Kochi, I get a different feeling altogether. I mean, you go to Lulu Mall, you get a different feeling altogether. So, you go to Kochi, you feel like you're in a developed world, so to speak. So in India, we are in a developing world. You typically battle too many ideas and too many startups, so to speak. I'm spoiled for choice as a consumer, right? I can go with a Swiggy or I can go with a Zomato, and it's not like Kareem or one of those startups that you find in Dubai, or one of those startups that you find in Sydney, or so on and so forth. So as a consumer, I'm spoiled for choice. That means that businesses in a developing economy have a lot of ground to play, but only have so much of field to play, so to speak, right? So there is only 22 yards that you can build, from a traditional Indian pun that I can use, where we have a love for cricket. So in terms of that, I feel that startups which are well covered, which have their unit economics right, are still going to be funded. We are seeing a lot of activity in the angel and the early stages, so to speak, but never lose focus of the fundamentals. And on the FDI point, on the foreign direct investment point, uh, the developed countries kind of pump in money into the developing nations. Keep in mind, it's a very balanced game. It's a mixture of finance and law, so to speak. So if the laws of a country where you're investing is not strong, you typically don't tend to invest in that particular country as such. And on the legal side, I would agree with Vandana that there is more representation that is required from a diversity perspective. So I think startups have to be very careful about where they're seeking the money, which is more important than when at this particular stage.
Wow, great insights, especially FDI, the foreign direct investments point was worth noting as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Shrikant. Next, I have Harsh. Harsh, your insights, please.
On the same topic, comparing
Yes,
developed and
please.
developing.
Emerging markets versus developed markets in terms of investments and startups.
Got it. So there's a huge difference in terms of the problems which startups from the developing countries solve and the problems which the developed countries solve, right? So definitely we are still operating in a lot more basic kind of situation where a basic problems where we mentioned, right? Accessing more finance for underserved communities, microfinance, those kind of startups. We see a lot of potential over there, and that is, if we get more opportunity over there, we would be happy to invest. Just like you have certain health platforms, right? So health platforms, obviously in the urban areas, you have very good healthcare. Comparatively in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, it is significantly lesser. So we look at startups in that space. So the scenario of investment is completely different compared to a developing scenario, developing country with a developed world, right? I see the startups which are pitched in Silicon Valley, and the innovation that they come up with is something completely different, and we are still a couple years behind that. However, at the same time, with the opportunity which we have in India is extremely very high as well. So what happens is, because the entry level, the biggest advantage of being in a developing country is the manpower over here is quite cheap, right? So to kind of build your initial prototype and to build the startup at the initial level, it doesn't cost too much, right? So you can trial very easily, you can experiment very easily, you can get through the early stages very easily. Unlike in the developed economies where even to start out you need like a $250,000 just to give the first initial start, that it gets at least a 6-month runway. So that is why, to add to Shrikant's point, right? In India,
Yeah.
we are literally spoiled for choice. We have so many startups to choose from, each solving, their own individual problems, and they don't even have to, span across the entire country. Even if they operate in few states, just today we had a startup pitch to us. Their focus was primarily on Eastern India, and they were doing fairly good revenues, right? And
Yeah.
so India, I would not say India is just a country; it's a whole continent in itself in terms of population and the diversity, right? So just identify the right opportunity, take it the true Indian way, understand the local nitty-gritties of the market over there, keep it as frugal as possible, and you can have a highly successful, thriving startup then and there. That's it. You don't need to really look at a lot of those other bigger scales, like you want to go abroad or all that stuff. Even obviously that's a huge plus point to have. But even within India, you have a whole ecosystem to survive on.
Great to know about India market, both from Shrikant, Harsh, and Vandana. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of the session today. Let's take some closing remarks for 2021. I'll start with Sean, who is very eager to share his insights as always. And as always, he's on mute.
I just get so excited. You get me pumped up, and I just start talking.
That's okay.
Again, always happy, always a pleasure to be here. Please look us up, Ingressive Capital, and also Ingressive for Good if you're interested in social impact or if you're interested in finding ways to invest in the African continent. Again, we make investing here digestible, safe, easy, transparent. With that being said, again, we look forward to another one. As long as you invite me here, I'll be happy to come.
I'm sure I'm going to. Thank you, Sean, for that energy and insights as well. Thank you so much. Dimitri, closing remarks from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for today's invitation. Glad to see same people here. So we started to be a good team and participate on any meeting. So I hope we will see also good incoming projects, and we in LT Capital will be glad to see projects from many spheres, and especially, as I said, edutech, fintech, and blockchain will be most of interest. So we invest in not only in Russian market, we are looking for CIS and worldwide also.
Right.
So we will be glad to see good projects, and thanks everybody for joining today.
Thank you. Anybody looking to partner with companies in Russia? You know who to reach out to. Thank you so much for that. Vandana, your closing remarks, please.
So first of all, I want to thank you, Sunny, for inviting me again and again to this wonderful VCTV show. Like I've said before, it's a therapy session. It's for like-minded people, and it really, helps everybody engage around the world. And, you're doing a great job to connect the dots over the ecosystem. Coming to my company, Convanto, would call out all companies looking into, looking for investments into fintech, agri-tech, edutech, food tech. Please do reach out to me. We were heavily investing $1 million to $25 million in these sectors. So we are also looking at AI, robotics, gaming as well. So please feel free to reach out to us, and happy to stay connected and come here again and again.
Absolutely, Vandana. I love to have you again and again. So that's Vandana, and she has highlighted the sectors she's investing into. Feel free to reach out to us, and we're going to happy to connect with Vandana Tolani from Convanto. Thank you so much, Vandana. Next, I have Dr. Shrikant. Your closing remarks, please.
I have only 15 seconds of remarks that I need to make. It's time to move away from the COVID hype, and it's time to start memeing. Meme your thoughts away. And so I would urge startups to take a closer look at the term sheets that they have entered into or they're planning to enter into. Get sound legal advice. Do not rush into things. When in doubt, meme.
Yes, I love having Sean and Shrikant on one panel, and I'm going to have this more. Thank you for the sheer energy that you guys bring in together as a team. Thank you so much. Harsh, over to you.
So glad to be back. Always a pleasure to have you, Sony, Vandana. We've done so many shows together, and we meet two new people, and Sean and Dimitri today. Glad to meet you guys as well, and Shrikant after a long time as well. Glad to have you here. So I'm reachable on LinkedIn. You can reach me out at Harsh Shetia. We invest up to $10 million. If you need any help in terms of identifying the right strategy, growing your business, raise funds, anything, just drop in a message. We'll be happy to help out.
Thank you, Harsh, and you've become a part of the family as well.
I definitely feel like one now.
Thank you so much. Thank you all of you for your
Thank
time
you.
and your participation and treating this as a therapy session or a family get together, whatever it is. But I get to gather so much informative information, like insights from all of you. So again, investors, speakers, startups, entrepreneurs, whoever you are who are watching us today, if you want to share the space with these like-minded people, if you relate yourself to these people, feel free to reach out to VCTV team. I will be more than happy to welcome you on board. Having said that, have a great day. I'm back tomorrow on another episode of VCTV with another topic and another set of speakers. Till then, keep watching VCTV. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Great to meet everyone.